Europe has converged quite a lot to the position of the United States. Thinking about the investment agreement that Europe wanted to sign just 3 years ago, we've come a long way through the pandemic and also through the war, that Europe now wants to kind of change its relationship and make sure that it doesn't have the same dependency or as it had with Russia. But how this actually plays out is still very difficult to see. It's very difficult for Europe to diversify its supply chain away from China, especially since a lot of the goods that we need for the green transition will be produced in China.
Well, interesting, isn't it, that we've mentioned Ursula von der Leyen and we've mentioned Monsieur Macron, but we haven't brought Germany into the conversation. And obviously, when Mr. Macron tried to invite himself on the German trip last year, that didn't go so well. So you say there's unity. Is Germany on the same page as these two other leaders when it comes to its position with regard to trade with China? Because we know that that is a significant business for Germany.
Germany used to be much less hawkish than other countries in Europe, but I think right now there's quite a lot of unity between the different European countries. Of course, there are divergences in particular policies, but overall there is a consensus here in Brussels among the EU countries that we need to do something about our over-reliance on Chinese manufacturing and also make sure that China doesn't blackmail smaller member states, as has happened in the recent past.
Yeah, but what does that, Niclas, what does that look like? Because I know that we've seen pressure on chip manufacturers or chip machine manufacturers in Europe to follow the American line on technology transfers. But at the moment, it doesn't seem that we have a comprehensive approach in Europe to what will and won't be sold to China.
So the problem here is that many of this comes down to national politics. For instance, the export controls that the Netherlands will impose on these chips machines are something that Netherlands can do on its own. And the challenge here is for the individual member states to not to coordinate their policies and to come to a common line and not be themselves subject to too much pressure from the outside. Other policies are a bit more easy to pursue. We have a common industrial policy. It faces similar challenges since many of the levers are national, but overall there's an agreement on the strategy. The challenge really is the implementation of the strategy. How do you make sure that a country like Germany doesn't prioritize its own automotive industries, that the Netherlands doesn't pursue a policy, for instance, on chips that might go counter the goals of the European Chips Act, and these kind of things. And here, I think a lot of it is down to kind of coordination of national policies and also leveling up the policies that we have to the European level. For instance, on sanctions, it is something that the EU doesn't really has done on the same scale as the United States in the past. And this was a huge challenge with Russia. And now the question is kind of how can we build on this experience we had over the last year to build new policies that might also be useful against a country like China.